Well, hello, What Now movement. Welcome to Financial Friday. I hope I put that hashtag in the title. I was working on that as I was getting ready to stream. So, this is Erin Harrigan, your Hustle with Heart and Health Coach. And I think we're live and I am not muted. So the other day, Eric reached out to me. Actually, he was a guest on my podcast, the Hustle with Heart podcast. And as we were chatting at the end, we were talking a little bit about my financial peace journey and, good, solid financial management, not just for business, but for life. And he said, you might want to share that on the What Now movement group. So I am honored to be back with you to share. I shared on Labor Day about the value of rest as entrepreneurs, and what a day to share that, right, on a holiday. But today I want to share a little bit about my story to give you a foundation of why I think I'm an expert in sharing this with you. And then I'm going to give you some tips. And at the end, I'll circle back about a special class I have that launched today, which has really nothing to do with this topic, but what I also will have coming in my coaching program that will have everything to do with this topic. So first of all, let me introduce myself. So I am a follower of Christ. I'm a wife of 26 years. I'm a mom of two young adults, 23 and 20. One is an entrepreneur and one is pursuing the arts. And I am an entrepreneur. I've had a network marketing, health and wellness business for 10 years. And prior to that, I spent 25 years in corporate America. So the reason that's important for you to know is my 25 years in corporate America, as I propped my ladder against that building over time, led to a very lucrative six-figure salary and sort of multiple six figures, if you will. And so we found ourselves in 2010 at a place where I was making significant money. We had a big house and a big mortgage. I made about triple what my husband made at the time. And we were living a life. And I came from very limited means. We grew up in poverty. My mom was a single mom. We were on and off welfare, hand-me-down clothes, and, very little. And my mom worked very, very hard. So to me, the idea of money was always something that seemed outside of my reach. It was something that we clearly didn't have. And so then therefore those who had it are the lives that I coveted. But I also had a view of money that people that had a lot of money were just not good people. And for a long time, that really shaped my money story. So what I desperately wanted to do was get a degree, get a good job, and work and make a lot of money. And with that came the desire for a lot of stuff, because you see, I had this hole that I was trying to fill that I thought was shaped like a car or a house or decorative stuff, etc. But it really was a God-shaped hole. And I talk a lot about that in my book, Pursuing Success God's Way, A Practical Guide to Hustle with Heart. So in doing so, we had created this dual income life that was pretty posh by my standards anyway. So when I started my health and wellness business in 2010, my dream was that I would build that business and eventually replace my income and then be able to leave corporate, because the one thing we didn't have in the midst of all of that was actually time. And isn't that why most of us become entrepreneurs? Is we want to be in control of our time. We want to control what we make because we want to be paid for the value that we bring. So fast forward in 2012, I was let go from that job. And at that point, when that rug was pulled out from under me and I was not expecting it, which I think is probably similar to what some of you all may be experiencing in the aftermath of the pandemic, which is why, Eric and his colleagues created this group to have those conversations. We had not replaced that income. I probably had replaced about 2/3 of the income, but I didn't want anybody to know that. So we kept living at this level, even though our income was at this level. And that went on for about 2 years. And in the summer of 2014, we had hit what I thought was rock bottom. And I remember my girls saying to me when I lost my job in 2012, well, we have to sell the house. And I said, absolutely not. Because to me, I wasn't going to let on that I didn't have the money to pay my mortgage, right? So in 2014, we found ourselves about 45 days behind on the mortgage, truly robbing Peter to pay Paul. We lived that way for another almost 2 years. And you may be thinking, well, if your business wasn't making that money, why didn't you just go get a job? Well, because at that time, I had every belief that my business would do it. I was working incredibly hard, but the results just weren't showing up. And that has a lot to do with the fact that I was not fully aligned to where God had really called me to be. So it wasn't for another year and a half that we broke down and we took Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University. And taking that class changed our life. Now, maybe that's not the class that you would take. It is biblically based, but maybe that's not the route that you want to go. But I'm going to share with you some of the key points that I took away from that experience. But here's what I know. Taking that class saved our finances. It saved our marriage. It saved our legacy. Because you see, from 2013 through 2016, to keep up those appearances of the big house and the company car, to rob Peter to pay Paul, I completely drained my 401k. And I know my financial friends right now are like, right? But we drained the 401k to keep ourselves afloat. Was it selfish that I didn't go get a job? Probably, but I don't believe that that would have taught me the lessons that I needed to learn. And through our journey of Financial Peace University, in 2019, by 2019, we had paid off $90,000 in debt. We had sold our home and continued to pay off debt. And now today, we are living in a house overlooking the Chesapeake Bay that we actually rent. I always wanted a waterfront house. I just didn't know it would come through a rental. We're able to pay cash for my daughter's college education, so she'll graduate with no student loans. And we have now shown our children, who, by the way, up to that point, we had given everything. And then they went through this very lean period that they had never experienced. And now we've shown them what it looks like to create financial security. So with that background, let me give you some tips today that are not just for your business, but also for your life. And some of this may be a little bit uncomfortable. So I'm coming to you with love and grace, because it is my greatest desire to allow my hindsight to be your foresight with God's insight. So here we go. Number one, ask yourself, if you're struggling financially right now, maybe because of COVID, maybe because, you're just getting your business off the ground. Are you trying to keep up appearances? Are you trying to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak? Are you trying to not show anyone that you have this financial challenge? And I'm not saying that you need to tell the world that you have a financial burden, but what I am saying is you need to take a hard look at the life you're living and decide if that's worth keeping up these appearances. On the day we got ready to go to closing, or not the day of closing, but the weekend before, we had a massive yard sale, and we took a loss on our house. We had to come to the table with over $25,000 to sell our house, but we had to get out from under our house because that mortgage payment was killing us, which a few years before we had no problem paying, right? And maybe you're in that spot. But I had a massive yard sale, and I remember pulling everything out of the house that I was selling. And I remember looking around and going, why do I have all this stuff? And it's because I was trying to fill that God-shaped hole. So it was releasing the ego and to stop trying to keep up with the status and to realize what were my true needs versus what were my wants. Leading up to that, so that's number one. Are you trying to keep up with the status? Number two, do you have a budget? So my husband came kicking and screaming into Financial Peace University. I remember our first sit down meeting, if you will, him and I, to start a budget. And we had put everything on paper and realized that we were spending $2,500 more than we were bringing in every month. And I remember that conversation was like acid. Like there's no other way for me to describe that except that I went to touch his arm and he said, "Don't touch me." It was awful, but we had to have that literal come to Jesus moment. And he had an issue with having a budget because we had always been freely spending and it wasn't a big deal. And I'm here to tell you that millionaires and smart business people have budgets. Maybe they have people managing that for them, but they have budgets. So whatever that budget sheet looks like for you, there were incredible tools that we were provided in Financial Peace University to understand what is our spending and where that money was coming from. And I'm going to talk for a minute what the steps are, some of the steps are in getting debt free. But having that budget allowed me to understand, what am I willing to give up to save this marriage, this family, this financial situation? What am I spending that's maybe frivolous to me, or frivolous to others, but feels good to me? Where am I spending that money? What am I willing to get rid of? You know, in the course, Dave Ramsey says, you know, you might have to sell some stuff online. And when you start walking around your house selling stuff online and your kids go, "Please do not come into my room," you know you're doing the right thing. So I began to look around the house, apologies for the background noise, and think, do I need that? Do I really need that? I sold paintings from my walls, decorations. I sold, you know, hundreds of these Longaberger baskets that I was using. Those initial things that I sold on online yard sale paid the smallest debts, the debt that we owed to our tax accountant, the debt that we owed to have our lawnmower fixed. Like these were all debts, you know, $100 here, $500 there. That was the beginning of our debt snowball. But start looking around and understanding, once you have that budget on paper, what do I need to give up? And you don't have to give it up forever. Listen, my husband had to give up golf for like a year and a half. And he doesn't golf a lot, but he was golfing once a week. Maybe that's a lot to some of you. But we had to give up a lot of stuff. I mean, we sold things that I thought, well, no, I'm going to have that china cabinet forever. Nope, it's got to go. So get your budget on paper. Let me speak to those of you that are like, I have to invest in my business. I hear you. I hear you. I have to invest in myself and my growing. You know, at the end, I'm going to tell you about my course that just launched today. I hear you. Invest wisely. Invest wisely. What does that mean? That means, can you pay cash for it? Don't just swipe the credit card and think, oh, I'll pay that off later. You know, in the first 5 years of my business, I just swiped my credit card because I thought, well, one day I'll be a big leader and I'll be making $20,000, $30,000 a year, and then I'll pay it off. Please invest wisely. I'm not telling you not to invest in your business, and I'm definitely not telling you only invest in what you can get back immediately, but make wise decisions. Maybe you're going to have to put that class off right now because you need to pay the rent or the utility bill. As Dave Ramsey and Chris Hogan say, you need to take care of the 4 walls: your home, food, clothing, and the security of your family. So, you know, your savings. And utilities. Sorry, I forgot that one. So make sure you get that budget on paper. And if you need help with that, I certainly can help you with that. Please feel free to reach out to me. All right. The next thing you need to do is you need to understand, what are the debts that you owe? And you need to list them, smallest debt to biggest debt. So there's a lot of discussion about, do I pay the smallest amount or do I pay the highest interest? And the reason that in Financial Peace we teach to pay the smallest amount first is because you begin to build commitment and confidence and momentum. Let me tell you something. When we paid that $120 debt to the lawnmower repair guy and that $700 debt to my tax accountant, even though I had much bigger debts with serious interest, those initial payments gave me hope. They spurred me on. They empowered me to keep going. And that makes all the difference. So list those debts, smallest to biggest, and then start to take a look at what your monthly payment is on that debt. The debt snowball, which I'm not going to go deep into right now, means that as you pay off that small debt, whatever your minimum payment was on that, you're going to add to the next one. So it starts to snowball to the point that as you start to pay off debt, you take all of those minimum payments and you start putting them together on the larger debt. Think about, as I said, what can you give up now and what can you sell? What can you look around and sell? Guess what? TJ Maxx, Marshalls, Home Goods, they're there. Thankfully, they're there. They survived the pandemic. You can go buy stuff again. But I'll tell you, now when I walk through those stores, I don't have the desire to buy. Partly because the reason I was buying it is because I was trying to fill this God-shaped hole, right? So the debt snowball. The other thing that I really want to encourage you to do is every state has a regional office and a state office of the Small Business Development Council. Reach out to your local SBDC. They have resources that can help you, whether it's building out a website or, starting your online business or financial management. Like the SBDC is an incredible resource close to you. And I want to say a word to those of you who may be starting a business, like a network marketing business, where you need to have product to do business. Earn that product. Earn that product. Jim Rohn, I'm going to paraphrase, is famous for saying, I would rather have someone, I'm totally paraphrasing this out of context, I would rather have someone who starts with $1 and earns their products than someone who buys all the products and does no work. So talk to your upline about how you can invest in the products that you need by perhaps earning them, whatever that looks like in your system for success. Okay, we have just a few minutes left. So I want to just tell you two more things that I have going on. So first and foremost, I am studying right now to be a financial master coach with Dave Ramsey. I'm going to be finishing that training up this month. So then I will begin to do consulting, free consults with clients to coach them through financial peace starting in mid-October. So if you would like to sit down and have a consultation with me, or if you'd like to talk through like what could that look like for you for financial coaching, I'm happy to have that conversation with you now, even though I won't physically start coaching and have my coaching packages available until the middle of October. But it is my greatest desire, which is why I'm adding this on to Hustle with Heart and Health Coaching, to help people live financially free. Because when you live financially free, you can give more and be at peace, because owing money is not biblical. It's just not, right? I'll post the scripture on that below. All right. The second thing that I want you to know is, as the Hustle with Heart and Health Coach, I did publish my first book in March, Pursuing Success God's Way, A Practical Guide to Hustle with Heart. And I am launching my first live course, which just opened today. So I will post that link below as well so that you all know that that's going on. The reason I wanted to share this today, and when Eric gave me the opportunity to share this, is I am so passionate about what the Lord has done and delivered us through because of our surrender and because of our obedience financially. Here's the deal. Every good gift we have is from Him. Every good gift. And therefore, it is our role to steward it wisely. Just like we steward our time and our talent, we have to steward our treasure. And so on this Financial Friday, I want to give you hope. Hope that if you are in a financial crisis, there are ways that you can dig out. You may be thinking, I've got nothing. But you know what? That's not true, because the Lord is there with you. And there may be things you're holding on to that you could sell off or something to start to help get you out of that debt. That's what this community is here to do. This What Now movement is here to support you in moving through this time and imagining and envisioning and putting into place what could be next for you. So I am passionate about helping people live debt-free, I'm passionate about helping people pursue success God's way and leveraging faith and health to create lasting results. And that's why I'm so grateful to Eric that he gave me this slot today to be able to share with you. So I hope that brought you value today. I'm excited to see your comments below. If there's any way that I can support you at all, please let me know. And Eric, thank you. And thank you to the What Now movement. And I wish you guys a fantastic weekend. See ya.